Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. Well, it is Gen Con weekend. I hope some of you made it out there. I would have loved to have gone. Never been to Gen Con. Someday, maybe someday, but I have a lot of obligations, so it's tough to get out there. Wish I was there this weekend, but hopefully some of you got to participate. Anyway, back in the world of the Market Watch, we do have a lot of stuff to talk about. Now that wallets are recovering from Double Masters 2022, we are starting to see a variety of cards jumping again in the secondary market. Also, those reprints from Double Masters 2022 are still bringing prices down on certain cards. Again, I do have a special section to look at with additional cards losing value because of the new set. That will be towards the end of the video. And again, this week, our threshold is $2. We're not going to talk about any card unless it's moving at least $2 up or down. There were, again, a lot of cards moving up between $1 and $2, some of them for good reason. Others didn't really have great reasons to be moving, so I do think the market is still undergoing a pretty wide adjustment across the board. Just something to keep an eye on. Quickly before we get into the details, though, just a fast reminder, if you go to FlipsideGaming.com, you can use the Heroes promo code to save 10% on orders over $10. Currently, you can pre-order Dominaria United products there, and they have a whole lot of other things on their website as well. Remember, if your order's over $100 or consists only of singles, shipping will be free in the United States. Also, whenever you use the Heroes promo code, it does support the channel, which is always appreciated, so thank you. And without any further ado, let's get into it. We haven't had a standard legal spotlight for a little while, just one card in this section today, but of course this is where we talk about the standard legal cards moving the most this week. That one card is Hopeful Initiate. This is the copy from Innistrad Crimson Vow. It's up $2.02 this week to $4.05. So typically there are 4 copies of this in a very popular standard deck, and that is Boros Aggro. It's also found in Mono White Aggro and Orzhov Midrange there. In Pioneer, you see this in Mono White Humans as well as Bant Humans. And it's also been getting some additional Commander play around some new cards from Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate. Lae'zel, Vlaakith's Champion, along with the background Master Chef. Ultimately, though, the reason this is moving the way it is does fall back to that Boros Aggro deck in Standard. And that quickly takes us to the Pioneer Legal Spotlight. Just 2 cards to discuss today. The first is Terror of the Peaks. It goes up $3.89 this week to $34.99. Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate did bring a lot of support for the Dragon Tribe. Commander Dragon decks like the Dragon and Tiamat have been seeing a lot more play recently. And this is a card that's found in those builds and other Dragon builds in Commander. In fact, it's even in a new build, Miram Sentinel Worm. That's a card from Commander Legends. Additionally, we have seen some preview cards that could make this even better in the future. First, we have Shivan Devastator. That is a new dragon coming in Dominaria United. And there could be more support for the tribe there too, perhaps. Terror of the Peaks could also play well with the second card on the screen, Torwoki the Younger. Now, this one is a box topper for Dominaria United. These box toppers are going to be eternal legal cards, and all the various types of boxes will include 1 out of the 20 in foil. Collector booster packs may contain non-foil and foil edge copies if you're looking for those. 19 of them are legendary creatures. 1 is a planeswalker, but they're all based on legendary creatures from the original Legends set. And the last card you see on the screen is Nogi Draco Zealot, which is not a dragon itself at first, but supports the tribe and can turn into a dragon until end of turn at times. This is going to be one of the foil cards included in the Game Night Free-for-All product. Last card in this section is Emrakul the Promised End, up $14.11 this week to $85.07. So first off, this is in Gruul as well as Simic Ramp and Pioneer, but the real reason it's moving the way it is right now is Modern. Omnith Locus of Creation builds there have been performing well, gaining momentum, and a copy of this is found in the main deck of those builds about half the time now. This is also in popular decks there like Amulet Titan, Eldrazi Tron, and more. It is sometimes used as a commander, and it's part of the 99 of many builds there, including Kozilek the Great Distortion, and it can be found in new builds too, like Nine Fingers Keen at times. And welcome to the Modern Legal Spotlight, just like that. Now we have some cards going down in value this time, and then some going up in value. First, we have Damnation from Time Spiral Remastered, down $2.01 to $19.99, and of course this is losing value because it was reprinted in Double Masters 2022. In Modern, you see this in Mono Black Coffers, sometimes Mill. Solid commander card too. It is getting more play now in some new decks. It's a good upgrade to the Mind Flayer's commander deck, and it's in fresh builds around the front-facing commander there, Captain Agathrod. This is also in builds around a card from the Commander Legends main set, Tasha the Witch Queen. Next is Wargate from Alara Reborn. This goes down $203 to $8.20. There are 4 of these in the modern 4-color Tamishi combo decks, and those just aren't seeing as much play as they used to, which is why this is moving down now. It is, however, in a variety of commander builds, including the Ur-Dragon at times. Bitter Blossom from Modern Masters 2015. It goes down $239 this week to $35.40. Another card moving down due to the reprinting in Double Masters 2022. This is in Modern Dimir Control, and it's in lots of different commander decks, including Alila, Artful Provocateur. Here's another card that was reprinted in Double Masters 2022. This is Ulamog, the Infinite Gyre. The Modern Masters 2015 copy is down $245 this week to $52.54. The Rise of the Eldrazi copy is down $290 to $56.63. Popular commander card in many different builds, including Kozilek the Great Distortion. Last card moving down in this section is Wrenn and 6. This is the copy from the list. It goes down $419 to $80, and this was part of the list for Zendikar Rising and Kaldheim. Yes, this is another card that was reprinted in Double Masters 2022. Sees a lot of play, though. In Modern, this is a Nomineth Locus of Creation builds, also in 4-color Archon of Cruelty, and much more. Vintage, you see this in Oath of Druids, Temur Tempo, Temur Control, and it gets some commander play too in a variety of decks. First card moving up in this section is Balefire Dragon, the one from Ultimate Masters. It goes up to $11 this week to $31.45, and here's another dragon moving up because of the support that came for the tribe in Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate. You do find this in a number of commander builds, including the Ur-Dragon and Tiamat. It's also in builds around the new Miram Sentinel Worm. Plus, it's a good upgrade to the Draconic Descent commander deck, and you see this in fresh builds around the front-facing commander from there, for Crag Cunning Instigator. Much like Terror of the Peaks, the 3 preview cards we saw earlier could be pushing this to some degree too. Remember, those were Shivan Devastator, Torwoki the Younger, and Nogi Draco Zealot. Next is the Time Spiral copy of Dandane. This goes up $248 to $299. So this copy of the card was bought out online, leaving only copies with high asking prices, which is why you're seeing this inflation. In reality, nobody's spending this for the card. And if you look at the other copies of the card, none of them are moving, not even the original one from Arabian Nights. So this isn't gameplay related. In fact, it really doesn't see hardly any play at all. I'm sure once more copies get out there, the market will start to correct itself. Next is Doubling Season, the original copy from Ravnica City of Guilds. It goes up $275 this week to $86.55. You know this, but it's a huge commander card. It's getting even more play now in some new builds like Miram Sentinel Worm and Merkle Lord of Bones. The thing about this card, though, is every time a new Magic product comes out, it does bring more cards that play well with it. Earlier, we saw Shivan Devastator. Here are 4 more preview cards that you might want to enhance with Doubling Season in the 99 of a commander build. We have Evolved Sleeper, Jaya Fiery Negotiator. Those are both from the main Dominaria United set. The third card, Ramirez Di Pietro Pillager, that is one of the Dominaria United box toppers. And the last card there is one of the foil cards from the Game Night Free-for-All product. It is Vogar Necropolis Tyrant. Additionally, there is one more Dominaria United box topper that could play well with this indirectly. Let's take a look at it. Jasmine Boreal of the 7. Imagine this as a commander in a deck with Doubling Season and a bunch of ways to make creature tokens with no abilities. Here's a card from a pretty popular cycle. This is Endurance. It goes up $4.59 this week to $48.12. And this card is all over Modern right now. It's in some highly played decks like Omnith Locus of Creation builds. Like we said earlier, those have been gaining momentum recently. It's in Yawgmoth and much more there as well. You also see this in many Legacy decks too. Elves, Selesnya Depths, and many others. In Vintage, this is in Humans, Temur Control, and it also gets a decent amount of commander play. It's even seeing more play now in a new build, Minsc and Boo Timeless Heroes. And the last card in this section is another one from that cycle. It is Subtlety. This goes up $4.68 this week to $14.98. This is yet another huge Modern card found in many decks, including popular ones like Murktide Regent and 4-color Living End. Living End decks have been performing very well recently, and those are the key driver for this currently. But like I said, Subtleties in a lot of builds. This also gets a little commander play in various decks too. And that takes us to the Vintage Spotlight. This is where we talk about cards that see play in Legacy, Vintage, or cards that are just popular among collectors. Now, for some of the cards in this section, the price you see on the screen is going to be a little more reminiscent of what you might see on a price tracking website. And that's because some of the cards that we discuss here are not found in high grade, and they're also not very easily found in general sometimes in the secondary market, so you don't necessarily get a lot of sales, which means we do have to lean a little harder on asking price. Additionally, for the older, more iconic Magic cards, the price you see on the screen might fall somewhere in between the price of a high-grade raw and high-grade graded copy, since that information isn't pulled out separately. Now, if that price doesn't sit at least close to the middle, or if just in general the price on the screen is not matching up with what I'm seeing for recent sales, I will point that out. First, though, we have a card that's pretty heavily traded. This is Anger, the copy from Commander. It goes up $2.31 this week to $7.07. Now, currently, this is the only copy of the card moving at least $2, but all the copies are moving to some degree because this is in Legacy Madness. The Madness deck has been getting more play and putting up some good results on MTGO. Additionally, this is also a solid Commander card, seeing more play in new builds like Minsk and Boo Timeless Heroes and Miram Sentinel Worm. Vampiric Tutor from Eternal Masters goes up $2.31 to $48. Now, this did join the list for Crimson Vow, still there now for Commander Legends. Keep in mind that covers New Capenna where the list was smaller. Even though the Magic version of the Stranger Things cards were heavily weighted there, the other cards in the list also appeared much more frequently compared to other sets. Because of those extra new copies circulating, this was losing some value, but now it rebounds some this week. In Vintage, you see this in Esper Tinker, Doomsday, and Paradoxical Outcome. It is a tutor, so you know it sees tons of play in Commander. It's in lots of builds, including Yuriko, the Tiger's Shadow. And I do think the reprinting of Imperial Seal and Double Masters 2022 did get some players thinking about this card again, and the same could be true for the next card. Demonic Tutor from Revised. It goes up $2.74 this week to $41.99. This was in the list for Adventures in the Forgotten Realms through Neon Dynasty. In Vintage, you see this in Esper Tinker, Paradoxical Outcome, and more. This is also another huge Commander card found in many popular builds like Edgar Markov, for example. Oh, these basic lands. Okay, we had a forest jumping last week from Battle Royale. This week we have a mountain jumping from Battle Royale. It is the one you see on the screen. It goes up $2.93 this week to $3.52. Now that forest we saw jumping last week did normalize down quite a bit. A similar thing will happen with this card, I'm sure. But long story short, sometimes a player decides they want to pick up a particular hard-to-find basic land for a deck or a few decks. They go out and buy a whole bunch at the same time, meaning the card will quickly dry up, leaving only really high-priced copies out there, copies that nobody will want to buy at the price they're listed at. That will create an illusion of increased value, and that's what you're seeing here. Once more copies go back to the marketplace, then the card settles back down. Many times when this does happen, it happens with white border basic lands. Since some players do prefer those, they do stand out more when you're fetching. However, there's been a lot of this happening recently, so I do think this could be a copycat buyout. Next, we have Phyrexian Dreadnought from Mirage. This goes up $3.92 this week to $87.66. There are 4 copies of this in Legacy Stiflenought. It does get a little Commander play too. Additionally, this has the Phyrexian creature type, and earlier we saw Evolved Sleeper from Dominaria United. So it does appear that Phyrexians are playing a role in the upcoming set. Also, there was a card leak that could tie into this moving up as well. And since it is a leak and not a true preview, I'm not going to put it up on the screen or give you a lot of detail about it. I know a lot of players want to wait until the cards are officially previewed before they find out about them, and I don't want to spoil anything here. So I'll just let you know the name, and that way if you want to look it up, you can. If you don't want to hear the name, I'll let you go ahead and skip to the next card now. It is called Sheoldred Insidious Conqueror. And the tie-in here is it is a Phyrexian Praetor. Yawgmoth's Will is next from Urza Saga. It goes up $5.42 this week to $231.12. In Vintage, you see this in Paradoxical Outcome. It does get some Commander play too, and you even occasionally see this in new builds around Baba Lysaga Night Witch. Additionally, though, this was mentioned in an Alpha Investments video as one of the cards that came from this time period of Magic where there's been a lot of market activity recently that might have brought some attention to it. Force of Will, the Eternal Masters copy, goes up $7.53 this week to $124.22. This is a Legacy, Vintage, and Commander staple. In Legacy, you see this in as a Delver, Jeskai Control, and more. Vintage, it's an Esper Tinker, Paradoxical Outcome, and more there. And this is in many different Commander builds, including Urza Lord High Artificer. Next, we have Savannah from Revised. It goes up $9.71 this week to $370. Counterspell from Unlimited goes up $11.69 to $85.30. Reverse Damage from Unlimited up $12 to $65. Tropical Island from Revised up $12.01 to $629.99. Psionic Blast from Unlimited up $12.64 to $84.82. Lion's Eye Diamond up $13 to $564.99. This is in a lot of Legacy builds. Ad Nauseam Tendrils, Doomsday, and much more, including that Madness deck that is heating up. Those decks run 4 copies of this. Plus, it is found in a variety of different Commander decks. Beyond that, though, Nitpicking Nerds on YouTube did a video this week about the 10 best reserve list cards in Commander, and this did get an honorable mention, so maybe that brought some attention to it. Mox Diamond from Stronghold up $13.02 to $664.50. This is in Legacy, Naya Depths, Lands, and 4-color Loam. It can also be found in a number of different Commander builds, and it was another card mentioned in both the Alpha Investments and Nitpicking Nerds videos that I talked about earlier. Badlands from Revised is up $16.54 this week to $439.99. Berserk from Unlimited is up $16.79 to $146.99. Now, the rest of the white border cards that you see in this section are also from the Unlimited set, so I won't keep saying that. Just know when you see a white border card in the section that it's from that set. Right now, though, we have Gaia's Cradle from Urza Saga up $19.95 to $974.97. Now, it did dip again recently, and it is now rebounding some this week. In Legacy, you see it in Elves. In Vintage, it's in Squee Hollowvine. Plus, it's in lots of different Commander decks, including a popular new one at times, Miram Sentinel Worm. And it was another card discussed in that 10 best reserve list cards in Commander video by Nitpicking Nerds. Null Rod up $20.28 this week to $119.04. This does get a little Legacy and Vintage play in sideboards. Legacy, you see this in Slivers. Vintage, it's in Prison Shops. Also, it does show up in some different Commander builds. Wrath of God, a couple very different copies moving up here. The Portal copy is up $207 to $1707. The Unlimited copy goes up $25.74 to $160.99. Now, this was in the list from Zendikar Rising through Strixhaven, and they used the Portal copy as the template for the copy in the list. When that happened, the Portal copy, which was unique, did start to lose some value. As you can see, it is creeping up again. Speaking of unique copies of this card, Wrath of God is included in that Fortnite secret layer. It is a solid Commander board wipe in a variety of builds, including a popular new one again, Merkle Lord of Bones. Haunting Winds goes up $34.19 this week to $89.99. Word of Command up $39.07 to $407.06. Lord of the Pit is up $88.41 to $163.96. Even though this looks like a big jump in the price, it does fall in between high-grade raw and high-grade graded copy values. Shivan Dragon up $181.78 to $543.13. I'll tell you, high-grade raw copies of this have really gotten expensive. In fact, believe it or not, this is closer to what you might expect to pay for a high-grade raw one. I have actually seen them sell recently for more than this. When it comes to high-grade graded copies, I have not seen one sell for a while, but when one does, it could go for much higher. Next is Tundra, in theory, going up $224.80 to $2,099. Is that for real? Well, this price is too much. It's like this because of high asking prices. High-grade raws can sell for about $1,200. A graded 9 recently sold for almost $1,650. Volcanic Island up $1,034.02 to $2,540.51. Okay, this seems like a big jump, but I have seen high-grade raw copies sell recently for almost $2,000, and I have not seen a high-grade graded copy sell for a while. Stands to reason when one does, this could be close to an average price between them. In this section, we're going to look at more cards impacted by Double Masters 2022. In some cases, they are cards directly from that set that are losing value as packs are cracked. In other cases, they're older copies of the card that are losing value as the new ones get into circulation. Sensei's Divining Top, the Eternal Masters copy is down $2.09 to $35.12. Now, this joined the list with Neon Dynasty, still there now for Commander Legends, so that does cover New Capenna. There's been a really fast increase of copies of this circulating in the secondary market because of the list copy, as well as the Double Masters 2022 copy. When it comes to gameplay, though, it's great. Vintage, you see this in Esper Tinker, Paradoxical Outcome, and it is also a huge Commander card that is getting more play now in new builds like Elminster. Allosaurus Shepherd, this is the copy from Jumpstart. It goes down $231 this week to $45.33. This was reprinted for the first time in Double Masters 2022. In Legacy, you see this in Elves. It is seeing increased Commander play now in a couple new builds, Regadraga Gorgod's Boss and Minsk and Boo Timeless Heroes. Also, remember, we are going back to Dominaria, and there are Elves there. Mana Vault is next. We have the revised copy going down $242 this week to $61. The Ultimate Masters copy is down $369 to $63.92. Another good card here, Vintage. It's in Paradoxical Outcome. It's also in Prison and Aggro Shops. And it is another popular Commander card in many builds, including some new ones like Miram Sentinel Worm. Concordant Crossroads, the copy from Chronicles, goes down $452 this week to $29.93. This not only got a reprint in Double Masters 2022, but it's also in a new secret layer. It's called Artist Series Siddharth Chaturvedi. Aside from the reprint, some original Legends copies of this are going to be pulled out of Dominaria United Collector Booster packs pretty soon too. Speaking of that Legends copy, I didn't put the price up here because typically those Legends copies have a life of their own outside of gameplay. Collectors are always interested in them in high grade. However, the original copy is going down a little bit too. When it comes to gameplay, this is in a number of commander builds, including Lathril Blade of the Elves. Imperial Seal from Double Masters 2022. It goes down $5.18 this week to $134.50 as this continues to try to find its price point. Prior to this printing, this was a hard card to find in high grade. It was in Portal 3 Kingdoms, and English language copies of those cards are extremely rare. Your other option was a Judge Foil. Both were very expensive, especially the Portal one. But the original copy has stayed pretty steady. Now that is different from the original copy of Warrior's Oath from that set. That card was also reprinted in Double Masters 2022, but the original is losing some value this week. Back to this though, sure, the card itself is a Sorcery Speed Vampiric Tutor, but it is still a card that is played in many different commander decks that want additional tutor options. And the last card in this section is Phyrexian Altar. The Invasion copy is down $4.76 to $78.26. The Ultimate Masters copy is down $6.40 to $52.35. This, of course, is a big commander card and combo enabler in the format. It's in many builds and getting more play now in some Merkle Lord of Bones decks, too. And that takes us to the Commander Spotlight. So all the cards in this section are moving, at least in part because of Commander, but there could be other factors at play, too. In some cases, Commander might not even be the key driver, but I'll let you know as we go through. Greater Oromancy goes up $2.03 to $64.44. And do I see a Shadowmoor rare that's yet to be reprinted? It's been a while, but I think I get to use my one per video here. Now, you might know, if you've been watching the channel for a while, that cards from this time period can be a little bit hard to find in high grade because there was a recession in the game, less packs were cracked. So these rares that weren't reprinted anywhere else, they tend to get a little bit spiky when people begin to pay attention to them. When it comes to gameplay, this has traditionally showed up in many enchantment-heavy commander builds, but now it's getting more play in a new build, Merkle Lord of Bones. Dockside Extortionist, the copy from Double Masters 2022, goes up $2.03 this week to $66.86. Again, it's trying to find its price point. And this is another first-time reprint that came out of Double Masters 2022. It is a heavily played commander card in many different builds. Basically, if you're playing red in Commander, you probably want a copy of this. And if you thought Wizards was going to back off on treasure tokens or pirates anytime soon, well, earlier in the video, we saw a card that disproves that. It was the Dominaria United box topper Ramirez Di Pietro Pillager. Additionally, this was mentioned in an episode of the Command Zone podcast this week talking about must-have cards for your Commander collection. Rhystic Study, the Jumpstart copy, goes up $2.06 this week to $37.80. This is a huge Commander card that you see all over the place. It's in new builds too, like Miram Sentinel Worm. Good upgrade to Mind Flayers, and frequently in fresh builds around Captain Nagathrod from there. Basically, if you're playing blue in Commander, you probably want a copy of this. Helm of Obedience up $2.13 this week to $63.22. So traditionally, I put this card in the Legacy section, but I really have not been able to find any recent builds using it. We'll have to see if that continues, or if the card does show back up again soon. It does get a little Commander play, though. Palinchron goes up $2.44 to $62.99. This has been losing value recently, rebounding some this week, though. It does get a little Commander play and can be a combo enabler at times there. Razorclaw Bear up $2.64 this week to $52.91. This is an older card that is yet to be reprinted, and it can be tough to find in high grade online. Many players are interested in this now for a couple of reasons. For starters, some are building a Eula Queen among Bears commander decks now because of the reprinting of Bearscape that we saw in the Pride Across the Multiverse secret layer. And this is one of the more expensive bears to get for those builds. Also, this has seen a little more commander play recently in a new build. Wilson refined Grizzly along with the background Master Chef. Crescendo of War, another older card yet to be reprinted. This goes up $2.74 this week to $8.68. It does get a little commander play in some different builds. Jumbo Commander did feature this as an underrated commander card in a YouTube short video this week. Maybe could have brought some attention to it. And the last card in this section is Sliver Queen, up $9.64 this week to $299.98. This is a key sliver and it's on the reserve list. You might remember we mentioned it in a video last week and said you might want to think about picking this card up. It did hit a pretty low price compared to where it's been in recent months and years. You do know it's not getting reprinted, so unless they find or have already found a stockpile of Stronghold cases somewhere, no new copies are coming. Of course, you never know. You do have to think about that now. Many players are speculating the slivers are going to make a return in Dominaria United or another upcoming standard set. And that speculation was furthered this week because a few sliver cards were reprinted and sent out as the surprise card, along with some of the secret layers in the latest batch. When it comes to gameplay, this is sometimes used as a commander for sliver builds. Other times it's part of the 99 for decks based around that tribe. That takes us to the Premium Spotlight. It is back. Now, we didn't have one last week. This week, though, I have 2 cards to discuss. And as you know, the premium market is always very volatile. There's cards spiking, there's cards dipping pretty consistently. Again, it ties into the fact that these are hard to find cards, at least in a lot of cases. So sometimes we do have to lean a little bit harder on asking price. Obviously, we don't have time to talk about everything that happens in the premium market. But when I see certain price jumps that are interesting, I do like to point them out. So here's the first one. We have Mox Diamond, the From the Vault Relics copy. It goes up $34.60 to $859.49. So is that for real? Well, I have seen high-grade raw copies sell for close to this price, around $800. I have not seen any high-grade graded copies sell for a while, but when one does, it will go for more than the price you see here. And our last card today is Gaia's Cradle. This is the Judge Foil. It's up $157.54 to $2,450. Again, is that real? Are people really spending that? Well, a high-grade raw copy recently broke $2,000. Again, I haven't seen any high-grade graded copies sell in a while, but when one does, it will go for at least close to the price on the screen. Most likely higher, though. Alright, that's going to do it for this episode of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. As always, hey, if you stuck with me to the end, thanks for being here. I appreciate that. Until next time, hey, stay safe out there. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.